Alright everyone, today I'm here to do something a little different than I usually do. Today I'm going to be talking about the worst Murder Drones review I've ever had the displeasure of watching. Now listen, as a longtime Murder Drones fan, I am aware that it is not above criticism. There are things that I myself would criticize, such as the fact that the 9-month time skip between episodes 3 and 4 is very jarring and wastes a lot of potential for exploring how Uzi learned more about how to use the solver and how everyone adjusted to the fact that there was that giant massacre in episode 3 and that Uzi is an eldritch being. However, that does not mean that everything by nature is bad. Just because I know that the show is not above criticism does not mean that I will not call out false, unfair, and ridiculous criticism. And I know that the YouTuber who said this, I know at their channel and in the description they made it very clear that the video is their opinion. But the problem is that opinions are still subject to criticism. I've seen a lot of other channels talk about stuff like that when they respond to certain bad takes, and everyone seems to freak out, but it is true. If you put your opinion out there and criticize something, you are just as open to criticism, or you should be, because that's how it works. Anything and anyone can be criticized. So, with that being said, first, which by the way, I will probably try to integrate certain clips into this video. I will try to play scenes of things they've said to address, but that is all added in post, so things I say might not be 100% accurate in that regard. Also, it depends on if I could fit them in properly, so please understand that going in. This video is a response to Arvac, or Arvac and Lolz. I don't really understand how you pronounce it. Thought it was a voice crack, but the point is, to start it off, they have this Under the Mayo style mentality for making videos. It is very clear that they took a page from his book and are Under the Mayo of the Murder Drones community. I officially dubbed them over the relish, but the truth is, they immediately resorted to trying to make the entire fandom look bad preemptively to justify hating the show and use it as a shield against criticism. And it is very obvious to see. They devoted like 3 or 4 minutes to an unfunny, unoriginal, and straight up annoying skit just dedicated to making the fandom out to be insane shippers who go to war over people disagreeing.
Okay, you see these fucking guys? They're a bunch of... They hate newsy shippers. They hate newsy shippers like us. Okay, so we need to kill them. We need to kill them. Do you understand? Do you understand me? Do you understand?
You see them fucking poor shippers? We need to swat them, and we need to dox them now.
I myself have in the past criticized certain envy shippers for blatantly trying to label Newsy as a pro ship and call it disgusting because they are frankly ridiculous people who just want an echo chamber and want their own videos. Not videos. Their own takes to be popularized and for their own shit to be accurate. I've criticized that in the past. However, the entire fandom is not deranged shippers. In fact, not all the shippers are deranged either. Shipping is a way that the community can interact about a bit of a different stuff, something more opinionated until it is revealed. People can just have fun enjoying it. As long as it's not something blatantly toxic, it is fine. There's nothing wrong with shipping. And trying to make out the entire community as psychopaths because there aren't specific numbers. But overall, think about how many shippers there are in the community. Now compare that to how many times you've seen harassment. How many of them are actually harassing others? Please tell me. Anyway, also, a fan base being negative, or a fan base that isn't good, is not a reason to hate something. I get it. There are some things where the fans take it too far. But the truth is that every community on Earth has bad people. Think about communities dedicated to the greatest things on Earth. No matter what it is, no matter what you think is the greatest on Earth, think about their community. They are going to have so many of the worst people on Earth in that it really just is not a valid criticism. Furthermore, all the criticism to Uzi and N's characters is just blatantly beyond stupid. The entire point is that they're introduced as coded in archetypal characters. They have this archetype coded into them, and they adhere to it strictly. But over time, you get to see how the AI grows, how the characters become more advanced, more complex. They lean into the tropes and archetypes, while also surpassing them in a way, and becoming more complex and dynamic characters. They took what everyone knows, everyone has seen as cliches, and played into them and spun the concept around to create something different, something original. That is innovation. That is what indie shows, especially Murder Drones, is known for. Innovation is not a bad thing. Furthermore, frankly, comments about humor just does not work. Not every show, in fact, no show is going to be liked by everyone. It isn't going to appeal to everyone. But no matter how you look at it, a difference in opinion, a difference in what you enjoy personally, is not an objective fact. It can't be criticism if it is all just how you view things. Unless it is an objective flaw, it can't be criticized. And that's what a lot of the comments in the video amount to. The story is very well structured. That is the one complaint I've ever heard about the entire series that made sense. Overall, it is very easy to tell that these people haven't actually bothered to try and look into things. They also immediately tried to pass off. Get this, they tried to pass off like 90% of a community as pedophiles with their oh so subtle argument where they tried to claim that the reason Uzi and N were revealed to both be adults later on is because there were so many rabid shippers who and so many NSFW artists for the series.
And so the fans started attacking each other like vicious, rabid animals because they are so incompetent to figure out the fact that all of the characters are 18 years of age. They all went apeshit. I mean, I guess it's fair, you know, I would not want pedophiles in the community. Probably the only reason they really made the characters 18, and I kind of try to point this out in my last video, is because people could not keep their dick in their pants. Let me just find it here. I'm sorry I did that really artistic accent, but we all make mistakes. Anyway, Uzi confirmed as an adult. Yet, like, we all know why. We all know why that happened. Is because people were making this murder drone smash or pass,
ignoring the very clear-cut fact that N was established to be an adult live on stream by Luke. Get this, a month after the first episode on November. The shippers, everything, the artists were not very prevalent at that time. So in actuality, it was a clear thing expected from the very start. Everyone knew it, which is why that group got so crazy to begin with. Sure, there are always going to be people who don't care if the characters are actually adults or minors because they're weird. But the majority of the community, the majority of those people, explicitly knew before they did anything. That is why that community grew so large to begin with. And frankly, all of the video is just very shallow in how it's handled. There are a lot of things that could have been used to make a proper argument, but instead are just formatted terribly. As I've already mentioned, the whole plot point of N and Uzi's age, which frankly was, again, supposed to be obvious. You were supposed to know that. But it was revealed on stream, so I don't really see how anyone could realistically try to argue that the community, that it happened just because the community got out of hand, when it was so recent after the show first aired that this happened. From what I could see in the video, they also have not watched the later episodes, and were just criticizing the first 3 or 4 without actually understanding where the series goes. Meaning that really the whole criticism just felt empty. It felt like it had zero value to it, zero actual substance, and just dragged on. The unfunny skits really didn't help. And also, back to the whole skit nonsense, they specifically tried to paint out the shipping wars as being that bad, when in actuality it is very clearly inflated. From the very start, there have been problems between newsy shippers and indie shippers. I will not deny that. But over the years, that has decreased. After episode 6, most indie shippers have accepted that newsy is canon. Most people have accepted that envy is toxic. So, where is the problem here? Overall, this has got to be the worst review I've ever watched in my life. I am telling you, I would rather watch a 2-hour-long UTTP review of murder drones than this. Because at least with the UTTP, it could be argued that it's satire and is just being clickbait. After a rewatch, just to make sure I didn't miss any of their points, I'm here to continue. I could end up just trying to make this into a second video, but obviously, I'm not scummy enough to do that. Anyway, for one, they, right at the start, opened it up by insulting the writing and never clarifying upon it. They specifically spoke about Uzi's character without going into any of the actual point for why the show is so edgy and self-aware with her, and instead trying to misdirect that and say that the irony and humor with the self-awareness is intended to make it seem like she's a competent character, but in actuality, it serves a lore reason and is expanded upon numerous times across the series. On top of this, he goes into very little detail of his beef with some random channel. I don't know anything about this channel, and I'm not going to try to defend it, or really, I don't care about either side of their stupid drama. But I will say that in the video, he didn't show any evidence of any so-called harassment, and him trying to use that as another excuse to hate on the Murder Drones community is not at all actually evidenced. Therefore, that part can also be thrown out of the equation. Overall, he also ignores that character writing isn't the only kind of writing that exists. It is consistently shown across every episode of Murder Drones that they have complex plot lines that all interconnect in different ways, and that are complex enough that there's an entire web of secret hidden details revealing these plot points across every episode. Every episode, there is some clue hidden somewhere in the background. In fact, usually there's several that all tie into the big plot points. Uzi, as early as episode 1, was absolutely consistent in showcasing the solver, with it appearing in her eye whenever Jay shot at her, and being shown to redirect the bullets as early as episode 1. And also it's showing up in Uzi's visor at the end of the episode when she starts doing her crazy evil laugh thing. That is another basic thing. Across episode 1, there's also things such as N's visor mentioning the solver and Sin. The absolute solver briefly shows up in the Murder Drones logo at the start of episode 1. And every episode, even its naming convention, actually has some form of subtle foreshadowing, which I know should be obvious, but it is still an important detail. Such as episode 1, the pilot, not actually being a pilot episode, but rather being subtle foreshadowing that N was the pilot, as revealed in episode 2. And that N was one who crashed the landing pod. Overall, the story does have good writing. It has intricate webs of lore. As you go on, you subtly are introduced to more and more of the mystery that we've been all known about and been theorizing since episode 1. A large part of why it is so successful. On top of this could just be a coincidence, but I really think I should mention this. But all of this review, it was released right after a certain YouTuber, Schwabados, or Schwabadi, depending on which channel you look at, streamed his reaction to Murder Drones, and he himself gave a lot of really horrible criticism that did nothing and was needlessly hostile to the community. So, I wouldn't really be surprised if there is some connection there. Possibly some trend hopping, because who else goes back and revisits a year-old video that no one cares about, just to reiterate the same nonsensical arguments that don't do anything to address the actual show. Furthermore, for some reason they criticize Glitch for going from just constant offensive humor, which I admit was definitely the selling point for their old stuff, but from going from that to actual plot arcs. I get that SMG4, the series, was already established. It already had its thing. And switching to story arcs for that was a horrible decision and made zero sense and was very jarring. But Murder Drones is not made by Luke. Luke, he is helping this. He knows the facts and is a factual source of information about the series. But the actual creator is Liam Vickers. Liam has his own writing style. It works. You can't complain about everything going downhill because a different writer, a different story creator for Glitch, has a different vision and a different style. Liam has shown in the past all of his crazy concepts with Internation Cube designed, and of course the more famous of a bunch, as far as I can tell, Cliffside. There's also things like Let's Split Up. Liam, across 2 channels prior, has consistently made insane, really interesting, and intricate stories, and has overall only ever failed with them due to burnout, struggling with the animation, struggling as an individual creator, which is why he's teamed up with Glitch. He's even stated that the intention is, if Murder Drone succeeds, then not as an individual creator, but as part of a team, he'll be able to make future episodes of his old shows that he's abandoned. So the entire criticism of Glitch going downhill is nonsensical, and he hasn't actually listed any problems with the plot arcs for Murder Drones. It is literally just him randomly throwing a word out, randomly throwing a statement out, with no elaboration and expecting it to work. Overall, the entire situation really just feels like he's simultaneously trying to rage bait and try to promote an echo chamber for some reason. 2 very contradictory goals, but it is not at all subtle here. And a few more things, or a problem in this video he made, are that he for some reason tries to purposefully simplify the plot to a ridiculous extent to remove any form of significance or depth it has. He just explains the basic story as the humans and drones are on a planet. The planet got really cold, humans died, and disassembly drones were sent after it. But in actuality, it is a much more interesting and intricate process that anyone who's watched the show would be able to know, where a zombie drone by the name of Nori got possessed by the Absolute Solver and ended up being patched just on time and having her arm cut off, which weakened Null before she could accidentally destroy the planet. But the planet still half imploded, causing a core collapse, and it just so happens that also caused the planet itself to get really cold, to enter a nuclear winter. The air became toxic. The destruction was insane. And because of that, all the humans died, obviously. But then Sin on Earth, the first zombie drone, she decided that in order to actually consume the planet, and complete what Nori failed to do for herself, she could easily just get rid of the worker drones ahead of time, and specifically hosts as well, by sending disassembly drones that she created to Copper 9 in order to wipe out all life there. And afterwards, she'd be able to eat the planet and not starve while capitalizing on Nori's failure. In the end, that is what causes the plot. When you oversimplify things, you intentionally leave out big details just for the sake of trying to make it look like your argument has substance when it doesn't. And also, for some reason, they took not really a big chunk of time, but a little too much, I'd say, just to mock one joke where Thad walked up to the pilot and Uzi said something about him testosteroning too hard. Which, how is that any problem? The joke is that they're making fun of typical teenage things. The characters are playing into these tropes and trying to match how humans tend to be as teenagers. They are in a school and they are trying to overall parody what the average student is like. The toxic masculinity joke is literally just them making fun of a stereotype. It is that simple. Also, it is the entire point that the drones at the start pretend to be like humans in a regard, because they literally view humans as gods that abandoned them, which is revealed on a sign in episode 1, which, again, anyone who did the research would find out. This ends up leading to them obviously trying too hard to be like humans in some regards. That is one of them. Plus, they're overall programmed to act in weird, more human ways anyway. I mean, for some reason, Uzi sweats, as revealed in episode 2. She even asks who programmed that. So it is not even all the characters being weird in general, but they are specifically programmed to be like this. The fact that anyone could try to pass any of this off as criticism is unbelievably sad.